It's April 28, 2014. A fishing trawler intercepts an oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman. One day after it left Dubai bound for Greece, 3 men climb aboard and spend the night packing hundreds of small sacks into the ship's ballast boxes. At least 2 metric tons of heroin, worth hundreds of millions on European streets. After the job is done, 2 men return to shore. One stays behind with a handgun, ordering the crew to keep sailing. The tanker is called the Noor One, and it's about to trigger the deadliest drug war in Mediterranean history. By June 6th, the Noor One has passed through the Suez Canal and nosed into Elefsina, a grimy port west of Athens. The next afternoon, 4 Kurdish men in a black Mercedes pull up and begin hauling the heroin toward Athens. They had spent years preparing. 20 million euros for a resort to launder money, a warehouse and chicken coop near Athens airport, 5 tons of marble dust to cut the heroin, canvas bags marked Pakistan white sugar, a truck with secret compartments to move the drugs across Europe. All the pieces were in place for a Mediterranean sequel to The French Connection. But like that famous heroin deal, this one was about to unravel spectacularly. 4 days later, someone on the fringe of the operation gets cold feet. They walk into a police station and reveal that somewhere outside Athens, a huge haul of drugs is being prepared for export. Georgios Katsoulis, head of the Piraeus Coast Guard, gets a tip about half a ton in a warehouse east of the capital. On June 11th, he sends 5 men to observe the squat cinder block building. The next evening, 30 armed agents surround it. We got some sense of what we were dealing with when the dogs went berserk. Normally, they sniff heroin and move right toward it. But there was so much heroin, the dogs didn't know where to go. They just started convulsing and barking violently. Inside, 6 men, 500 kilograms of uncut heroin, and a handgun. Simultaneously, another squad raids a mansion in affluent Philothei and finds another half-ton stacked in a garage. Over the following days, it becomes The Wire in real life. Greek intelligence flips suspects one by one. June 22nd, another ton discovered in the chicken coop. The crew of the Noor One arrested. Tips lead to Dubai. By August, 33 people are in custody. Greece has just disrupted the largest known heroin shipment in European history. That was just the beginning. The planners of this massive operation know someone betrayed them, and they suspect they know who. Naji Sharifi Zindashti, an Iranian Kurd with a legendary criminal resume. 30 years earlier, he and his friend Mohammed Diesel had been sentenced to death in Tehran for heroin trafficking. They broke out of Evin prison by killing a guard. Zindashti fled to Istanbul, where he allegedly brokered ties with Ergenekon, a shadowy group plotting to overthrow Turkey's government. Later, he may have channeled money to the Gulen movement. Sources say he owned hundreds of kilos of the Noor One's heroin. September 2010. An email to Zindashti from one of the other funders. You spoiled our plans. You spoke against us. You stole from us. You made fools of us. 2 weeks later, Zindashti's white Porsche rolls down an Istanbul boulevard. Bullets rip through the doors, killing the driver and passenger. But Zindashti isn't inside. The victims are his nephew and daughter, both students at Istanbul University. At his daughter's funeral, Zindashti says coldly, "I was expecting something like this, and I know exactly who did it." What follows is a killing spree across continents. December 2014. The alleged assassins are shot dead in Istanbul. 3 days later, an Amsterdam cocaine lord, part owner of the Noor One heroin, shot in the head at a traffic light. By year's end, Mohammed Diesel's mangled corpse, chained to an anchor, is pulled from the Sea of Marmara. Spring 2015. A gangster gunned down in Dubai. The assassins flee to Canada, where farmers find their bullet-riddled bodies in a British Columbia blueberry patch. Cocaine trafficker shot in Panama. An attorney executed with an Uzi in Istanbul. By April 2018, 13 assassinated, 4 more dead in suspicious circumstances, all connected to the vampire ship. While bodies piled up internationally, Greece was dealing with its own crisis. A decade of EU-imposed austerity had gutted the economy. Against this backdrop, the Noor One case became a national obsession. gruesomely cathartic distraction from financial collapse. Greek papers dubbed it the vampire ship, reporting each development in almost supernatural terms. Every time the story seemed to fade, it willed itself back into headlines. The Noor One kills again, read one 2019 headline after the 16th connected death. But the official investigation was plagued by bizarre disruptions. 3 weeks after the bust, a Dutch woman arrives in Piraeus, claiming to be the Kurdish prisoner's lawyer. She's actually a money courier, leaving behind 200,000 euros, perhaps to buy silence. Then the witnesses start dying. July 2010, one of the Kurdish unloaders dies of heart failure in an Athens hospital. 9 months later, the Noor One's mechanic, also dead on arrival at a hospital, also from heart failure. October 2015, the trial begins, but a witness escapes to Kiev with a laptop containing crucial evidence, never seen again. The judge steps down. 3 prosecutors quit the case. May 2017, a prosecutor gets round-the-clock security after men are spotted surveilling her apartment. Judiciary members receive letter bombs. June 2018, the police informant who led authorities to Dubai dies in a car crash. Even journalists aren't safe. June 2016, reporter Panagiotis Mavrikos, investigating the ship, found charred in his burnt-out Porsche. March 2018, another journalist pulled a gun on at the Athens Hilton during a Noor One interview. At the center of this web sits Evangelos Marinakis, the swaggering oil broker who leased the Noor One. Son of a nightclub owner beaten to death in 2009, he inherited a fleet of convertibles and a taste for the high life. In 2012, Marinakis relocated to Dubai and acquired the Noor One, outfitting it with a Togolese flag for legal immunity. He claims his first contact there was Mohammed Diesel. They started smuggling contraband fuel from Iranian fishermen. By 2013, they'd graduated to heroin. Diesel pooled 20 million euros from Kurdish funders in Europe. The plan: synthesize heroin in Afghanistan, transport it via the Noor One, distribute it across Western Europe. January to March 2014, secret meetings in Dubai hotel lobbies around Palm Jumeirah. Marinakis, Diesel, Zindashti and others divide profits and plan distribution. August 2016. Marinakis gets life in prison, but investigators suspect he wasn't the real mastermind. Coast Guard Chief Katsoulis testified 3 times. The true owners of the Noor One are being hidden. In solitary confinement after multiple assassination attempts, Marinakis wears aviator sunglasses and moves in a cloud of cologne. His story keeps changing, and in 2018 he dropped a bombshell. Evangelos Marinakis is one of Greece's most powerful men, heir to a shipping empire, owner of Olympiakos Soccer Club and Nottingham Forest, controller of newspapers and TV stations, a man accustomed to getting his way. When an Athens gallery owner refused to sell him a painting, men stormed her gallery and threw yogurt on the walls. By 2014, as the Noor One sailed toward Greece, Marinakis was entering politics. He won a city council seat in Piraeus, pushed investor-friendly policies, and became close to current Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis, whose sister's wedding Marinakis was best man at in 1998. His empire went global. 2017 purchase of Nottingham Forest for £50 million, deals with Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative, a $1.7 billion merger, creating one of Earth's largest tanker fleets, lucrative contracts with Iraq's state oil company. But just as Marinakis was ascending to global prominence, Greek authorities were investigating whether he built his empire on the back of a titanic heroin deal. The first link: Evangelos Marinakis, employed at Marinakis' soccer club within months of the Noor One's departure. August 2016. Marinakis gets a suspended 10-year sentence for setting up a UAE front company to absorb drug profits. From the witness stand, Marinakis identified himself as Marinakis' man in Dubai, testifying that Marinakis bankrolled his ventures in the UAE. The second link: Yannisakis claims Marinakis visited him in Dubai the summer before the Noor One's departure. They met at the Burj Al Arab with oil sheiks buying contraband fuel. The third link, money. In 2021, Dubai authorities handed over Yannisakis' financial records to Greek prosecutors. They showed nearly $1 million transferred from Marinakis' shipping firm to Yannisakis' brokerage in 2013. Another $400,000 from a company in Marinakis' building, legally represented by his cousin. Another $200,000 arranged by Marinakis' personal lawyer. But the most damning evidence came from an unrelated investigation. May 2012. Greek intelligence wiretapped soccer executives for match fixing. They caught Marinakis using the alias Fataul Ak, repeatedly discussing the Noor One and mysterious future plans. May 2012, the month Yannisakis acquired the Noor One. Kotsonis texts Marinakis that a boat is ready, just needs the green light to get this thing started. Over the following months, cryptic references to Iranian fishermen, a little job, a big company. Marinakis to Kotsonis? Me with all this stuff. Careful, I don't want to be caught up in such things at all. To another contact. This guy hasn't passed his test up till now. We need guys who deliver when the weather's bad. March 2018. Piraeus prosecutors launch an investigation into Marinakis and 3 associates for allegedly running a criminal organization that trafficked narcotics. Throughout, Marinakis denies all links to drug trafficking, claiming the allegations are politically motivated. As the investigation proceeds, something interesting happens. In 2017, Marinakis buys 2 newspapers and a TV station. Coverage of the Noor One case across Athens media begins to relax. The gaggle of journalists covering the story dwindles to a handful. Meanwhile, Yannisakis' appeal grinds slowly forward in the women's quarters of Greece's largest prison. Twice a month, he struts down hallways spattered with dog shit into a bare courtroom, wearing aviators and cologne, purple worry beads protruding from his knuckles. Then in 2018, Yannisakis doesn't just offer new details, he tells an entirely new story. There weren't 2 tons of heroin, he claims. There were 3, and the 3rd ton was successfully delivered to someone else. According to Yannisakis, as the Noor One approached Crete, a smaller vessel picked up a ton of heroin and headed up the Adriatic towards Serbia. This ton belonged to Marinakis personally. Why believe Yannisakis' latest claim? First, Turkish witnesses interrogated years earlier had also insisted 3 tons were trafficked, baffling authorities who thought they'd seized everything. Second, inside the Noor One, a month after it was supposedly fully searched, investigators found a handwritten note dated May 26, 2014, when the ship was in the Suez Canal. Mr. Yannisakis, I am waiting 400 PTTQs of powder. Please give us a date and a meeting point in South Crete. Please contact us. Master Jack, below the text, the stamp of a ship called the Seychelles Prelude. Third, 3 months after the Noor One reached Greece, the managing director of Marinakis' shipping company flew from the UAE to Athens. Airport security asked him to open his suitcase. Inside, 622,000 euros in 500 euro notes. Marinakis claims it came from a recalled wire transfer. Investigators call it clear evidence of money laundering. But just months after shocking Greece with his 3-ton story, Yannisakis mysteriously recants everything. Marinakis had nothing to do with the Noor One, he suddenly claims. The 3rd ton was fabrication. The real culprit was Zindashti, the Iranian Kurd behind the assassination spree. Spring 2018, Athens issues a warrant for Zindashti. Turkish police comply, ambushing his Istanbul villa and arresting him and 9 others, 4 of them current or former police officers. Marinakis' newspapers proclaim vindication. The arrest of Zindashti is a major blow to a game of many years. But Turkish prosecutors never claimed Zindashti masterminded the Noor One. He was arrested for allegedly murdering a lawyer. Either way, he spends less than 6 months in prison and vanishes within hours of release. 6 months later, Zindashti's face appears on Cumhuriyet newspaper's front page, photographed dining with one of Erdogan's closest advisors and a senior party member. A window into connections between Turkey's authoritarian state and Mediterranean organized crime. In Greece, the Noor One case morphs into a proxy war within the political system. For the left, Marinakis represents everything corrupt about oligarchic capitalism. For the right, it's evidence of weaponized justice. Early 2019, when a photo surfaces of then Prime Minister Tsipras on a yacht, current Prime Minister Mitsotakis uses it as campaign ammunition. Tsipras fires back. At least I wasn't aboard Marinakis' yacht, or aboard the Noor One. Nor is my best man someone awaiting trial for smuggling heroin. Defense Minister Kamenos delivers rant after rant about the tanker, rattling off company names that put cash in Yannisakis' accounts. He's later photographed in Monaco, with the prosecutor investigating Marinakis. March 2019. Marinakis likens himself to Socrates at a ceremony dedicating a statue to a Greek revolutionary. Through travails over centuries, light always wins over dark, and true heroes finally take their rightful place in history. From an undisclosed Middle Eastern location, Zindashti agrees to tell his side of the story via email. He never mentions heroin trafficking or the murders he's alleged to have ordered. But he's adamant about one thing: Yannisakis wasn't acting alone. Behind him was a Greek his friend Diesel called Shishko, Turkish for fatso. I used to hear the name Shishko often when Diesel and Yannisakis were talking. Zindashti writes, he claims he met this man once, in March or April 2014, in the Dubai Hilton Jumeirah lobby, a meeting about the Noor One, scheduled to depart weeks later. Yannisakis confirms this meeting happened, including the date and location, but he claims not to know anyone called Shishko. Multiple photos of large bearded Greeks are sent to Zindashti. He sends back one, Marinakis. I only remember him because he was really fat, Zindashti writes. Otherwise, if he would be a normal man, he probably wouldn't get my attention. I repeat, he was really fat. Today, the Noor One can still be found where it came to rest 6 years and 17 deaths ago. It slumbers down an unlit dirt road in a lonely bay in Elefsina, flanked by cement stacks belching smoke on one side, and on the other, the ruins where ancient Athenians once celebrated their mystery rites. Rust and seawater slowly eat away at its hull. The vampire ship lists into the water, as if doing its best to disappear entirely. It's been put up for auction with an asking price of 60,000 euros, less than it would fetch as scrap metal. There are no buyers. The investigation into Marinakis continues. Yannisakis' appeal grinds forward. The murders have largely stopped, but justice remains elusive. In a Greece still reeling from a decade of austerity, the Noor One has become something more than a drug bust. It's a symbol of a system where corruption and violence intersect with the highest levels of power. And in that lonely bay, the vampire ship waits, a rusting reminder that some mysteries resist easy answers, and some ghosts refuse to stay buried.